Good morning. This is me in Tuxedo again. He was uncomfortable, so we moved to the love seat, and then he wasn't comfortable, so then we moved to the couch, back to the couch. He's not comfortable, but that's okay. So it doesn't make any difference, but I'm trying to rub his body. So we were talking about, I talked to you about where I was at in terms of how I feel about my husband, and now I'm going to talk to you about my son and what that has been like. That has been a nightmare. I initially we my I was initially diagnosed they found the tumor. I was not told. I did. They found the tumor. And I was told that it appeared to be cancer at that time. So I believe the I had had the diagnosis. They told me I had cancer before I had my upper endoscopy because of the way the tumor looked. And we weren't going to tell my son, but regardless of anything, I had to have the tumor removed. And that would require the Whipple. That would be the only way to remove it. So we weren't, we had talked about not telling him right away because it was his senior year and it was right at just before prom, right at graduation, and I, I just couldn't not tell him. Back in 2013, I had a heart attack, and he had had plans to have a friend spend the night when I had that heart attack, and the plans switched. He went to the friend's house, and his friend, and his mother's my friend. Um, no one told my son that I was in the hospital, that I had had a heart attack. But because I didn't want him to know, I was too afraid that it would ruin his weekend. And his father decided that it didn't matter what I wanted, that our son had the right to know. And he told him. And my son has had issues with that and made me promise him that I would never, ever keep a secret about my health away from him like I did when I had my heart attack. I had my heart attack, but prior to that, about a year prior to that, I was diagnosed with a brain aneurysm. That's too much for a child. So we decided to tell him about the cancer, and it was going to be like just before it was right before I had my endoscopy when he heard it also from the doctor. But I told him, he came home from school, I sat him down, my husband and I were good time together. I was so nervous about it and so afraid to tell him because I was so afraid that it would ruin everything for him. It would ruin prom, it would ruin graduation, it would ruin he was planning to start college in the fall, that it would ruin everything. And I just had to I talked to him. I couldn't stand it anymore. So when he came home from school, I talked to him. I asked him to sit down and that we needed to talk. And that before we talked, he needed to make some promises to me. And one is that he's going to go to college. He promised me he'd go to college. And I told him I have pancreatic neuroendocrine cancer. And then asked him not to look it up because when you look up pancreatic neuroendocrine cancer, what I found, I can't say you, I don't know what you would have found, what you find or have found or would find, but what I found was all kinds of information about pancreatic cancer. And that is terrifying. That was terrifying to see that, to read that. And then when I read the survival rate of the Whipple, I think that it's about 20% survival rate at 5 years. I didn't want him to read that. Number one, I didn't want him to read about something that was not what I have. If I had had adenocarcinoma, I would have told him, and I would have told him what to read so he would know. And but he did promise me that he would not, he would go to school, and that nothing would change him going to college. So the fear of that didn't leave, and he's still not in school. He took off the fall and the winter to be home with me. I've had a rough time. I've been sick. I don't think he wants me to be alone, and I'm fine. I have the dogs. As throughout the time that we're together, you will see that the dogs are a huge part of my life. In fact, here's Tox, and he knows I'm talking about him. Sorry if you're grossed out by that. I do it all day long. I don't even know when I do it. So if I all of a sudden stop and start kissing and telling him he's cute, bear with me. That's just the way that I am. I do it with Sophie too, and I know I'm wasting your time, but hopefully you'll get at least something. Maybe you'll laugh. Maybe you'll learn something about something that you or a loved one, the type of cancer that you or a loved one could end up getting. None of us are immune to this. Anybody can get any type of cancer. And here's Sophie. Say hi, Sophie. This is my girl. Sophie's right under me. So so even if it's just a smile or you feel like you can relate to someone, that's my intent for doing the YouTube videos. It's not for any other reason. I look terrible. As you can probably see, I have a lot of stuff under my eyes to cover up what the underneath of my eyes look like. I look like somebody beat me up when I don't have eye makeup on. Otherwise, that's pretty much it, but it's bad. It's really bad. I will have some times when I don't have my makeup on, but it's not going to be for a minute, because the last thing I want to do is make you guys not want to watch me because I look hideous. So, I'd like to get you at least comfortable with me before I take off all my makeup. It's just whatever. So when I told my son, I saw exactly what I was afraid of in his eyes. He cried. I cried. And it was the fear, he doesn't talk to people except me about his feelings. And he doesn't even talk to his dad. But who do you talk to when your mom is the only one you talk to? If you're afraid she's gonna die. That has been the worst. The worries. The worry that I won't be here to see him graduate from college. That I won't see my grandbabies. That I won't see him have his dreams. Although I will, because I know what's on the other side. But that was the tough one. Seeing I can't say, I don't know how to describe it. It was like just seeing the light come out of his eyes. And, this is what hurts so bad about when, I was called a liar and said that I made it up for attention. I would never, never do that to my son. Never. I would not put him through what he has been through for anything. Anything. So what happened is that not only did he have to deal with what we all have to deal with one day, is the loss of our mother. And thank God I still have mine. I know many of you don't. So I've talked to so many people that have never been okay after they lose their mother, especially when they're and their mother were so close. One of my dearest friends um, is she can't go into a hospital because of when her mother died. But she came to see me 3 times when I was in the hospital, 2 or 3 times, I think. Um, I, she came, yeah, it was 3 times because she came twice. She brought me on, anyways. I've seen when it's done to her. I have another friend that I've seen when it's done to her. She lost both of her parents to cancer. And I don't want that to happen to Joshua. And that's my fear. And how much time I'm trying to teach him cooking. I've got so many things I want to teach him about, like my cooking, family history, things he doesn't know. I have, right after he was born, I started a journal to him. And I wrote in it periodically throughout the years. And I knew that one day I would give it to him. I didn't know when. I thought I would do it when he was 18, maybe 21, maybe 25, maybe 30. I didn't know. His 18th birthday present was the journal. Because I didn't want him to get it after I was gone. So I gave it to him. And there were just so many. I want to start another journal, but I don't want to stop it in the middle. Not, not in the middle for him. So now I'm trying to get in as much time as I can to teach him what he needs to know to be a good husband, to be a good father, to just, he's gotten this far and he's been doing wonderful, but he had me. And I don't want him not to have me. Whatever he never connects with anyone like me, like he does with me again. And I'm gone.